Learnings and Trust Bank. Shanti Raghavan with employability trainers Moses and Reena.
Learnings and Trust Bank is, I would say, the most important part of the attitude building segment. So let us see an example of Trust Bank and what you need to do.
Hearing impaired employability trainer Junaid in session with hearing impaired students. Junaid uses e-learning Flash and says,
To work with the world and people, your trust bank is important.
Okay. I want to give you that box.
Junaid gives everybody a Trust Bank box and says,
What's that box?
Use this box. It is very important for your future.
Two
Hi.
hearing impaired
Hi.
students are in conversation.
What are you reading?
I don't understand. I have a few doubts.
Don't worry, I will teach you. I'll make you understand. I will teach you. It's very simple. Okay? It's easy. Okay.
Now I understand. Thank you.
Welcome.
I want you to come and teach me tomorrow also.
I will teach you.
Now I have more trust in you.
Why do you have more trust in me?
Yesterday I asked you to come and you came on time and taught me.
Pradeep gives Trust Bank to Santosh. Santosh credits Pradeep's Trust Bank. Hey Mustafa,
What? What happened?
5 days ago I gave you my book. What happened?
Oh God, I'll give it to you tomorrow.
No, 1 day, 2 days, 3 days are over. How many more days? No, you give me your Trust Bank now. Mustafa gives the Trust Bank to Namrata. Namrata debits from the Trust Bank. Visually impaired trainer Moses in session with visually impaired students.
You all know how Trust Bank works, right?
Yes, sir.
The credits happens in smaller numbers, like +1, right?
Yes,
Because
sir.
debit happens in
Minus
in bigger numbers.
Yeah.
It could be -100, -50, etc. Right?
Yes, sir.
Now imagine you are all serving the probationary period, in which you are not entitled to take any leave. Right?
Okay, yes.
What happens? First day you go on time. So
Yes,
what
sir.
will be in your Trust Bank?
+1.
Yes, +1.
Yeah.
Second day also you go on time.
+2.
Yeah, one more thing adds and then the score becomes +2.
+2.
And suddenly you don't go on third day. What happens?
Minus
-50. Suddenly the score becomes -50.
Minus
Because the debit happens in
bigger number.
Let's understand this, how to keep Trust Bank positive when something unexpected happens, right?
Yes, sir.
Imagine there are 3 teams. On my left, team A. The middle row is team B. On my right is team C. Right? Imagine a scenario where you are working in a city far from your hometown, and only your mother stays with you.
Okay.
There is nobody else in the town where relatives are. Nobody else, right?
Yes, sir.
One fine day, one morning, you find that your mother is sick, and you got to take her really to the hospital.
Yeah.
Right?
Yes, sir.
Now, in this unusual, how do you keep your Trust Bank positive? Right?
Yes.
What is the first thing? What is the first and foremost important thing is, at what time you communicate determines how your Trust Bank will be. Right?
Yes,
Imagine
sir.
the team A informs around 6:30, 7 o'clock or 7 o'clock. They call up the manager and says, kind of, I'm not coming because of some reason. Yeah. Team B calls around just 8 o'clock, 9 o'clock, and the team C calls around 9:30 or 10 o'clock after the working hour starts. So how will be the Trust Bank in each these cases? The team A
+1.
+1 because they have informed much earlier so that the manager can manage, replan or
Yeah.
reallocate the work.
Yes.
In case of team B,
Zero.
zero, it's a neutral thing, right? Because it may not affect as much. In case of team C, certainly what happens?
Minus 50.
Minus 50 because they have called after the working hour starts, right?
Yes.
So that becomes a burden for manager to reallocate the work.
Correct.
Along with at what time you inform, it's also important how you communicate. How you communicate also determines how your trust bank will be, right?
Yes.
So team A, imagine they call up and say, sir, my mother is not well. I am only one here. I need to really take her to the hospital. Once I go to the hospital and once I meet the doctor, I'll call you back and inform you what needs to be done. And the team B says, my mother is sick, and cut the call, and then says, that's all. And the team C calls up and says, hello, sir, I need a holiday and leave for my personal reason, 3 days. What happens? Now, in case of team A,
Plus one.
plus one, they have communicated and they also said they will call back, right?
Yes.
They give correct information. In case of team B,
Zero.
because they haven't provided much information, it may not affect.
Correct.
In case of team C,
Minus 50.
because it is very ambiguous. You need a personal leave for what? You might actually going for on a honeymoon trip and you are calling it as emergency.
What is one of the most biggest problems regarding people's attitude towards their job? Now, let's take an example. You finish your training and then you give them a job maybe, but perhaps the salary is slightly low, and then the candidate would say, I don't want that job. Even I think we feel the same way. We all want higher salaries, etc. But the candidate may not realize that they can learn a lot in that job, and only when they learn, they gain experience, that is when they can command the salary that they want. They can get the salary that they want. So how do we build this concept? How do we build this attitude in our candidates? Let me take another example. They are doing your training. Every day they come, every day they go. Don't know what they're doing. Are they really learning? How do you make them observe their learnings? So to solve this problem, so that the student has the right attitude towards learning, we have this concept. The solution is having a learning bank, and the student maintains their learnings in that bank. It feels the same like a savings bank. Look at your trainer manual for more information, and perhaps you should maintain your learning bank also. What is the difference between you and the student? You also want to have your own learning bank and keep observing your own learnings, and I think that will help the student also. The next is part of the attitude building is trust. So let us talk about the trust bank. One of the most important attitudes we need to do is to build trust with others. So when you are in a company, when the candidate is in a company, they need the company to build trust in them. So how do you do that? So that is why we have the trust bank concept. And as you saw in the example before, the trust bank is given to each student and they maintain their trust bank with each other. So I think in the example, when one candidate lost trust in the other, they did a debit of, they did a debit, etc. And what happens with that is, this solution is so good because the student can see immediately the impact what they've created in others. So you don't trust me and I don't know that, or I just see your face, it looks bad. Now in my dabba, minus 50 has been, is there, whatever. So that immediately tells me, oh my God, people don't trust me anymore. That is immediate, that feeling. So this is the best solution, because if we cannot build trust in each other, I think we can't hold on to a job and we will not gain respect. So we need our persons with disability to be trusted in a company and to gain that respect. Please remember, a person with disability is facing a lot of odds. The company is already, it's not about not trusting the candidate, but is already thinking, he's disabled, how will he do the job, etc. So building trust is the most crucial element, and that is why we have this trust bank concept.
Can I just add one
Yeah,
sentence?
please.
The interesting thing about this trust bank is the abstract concept like trust has been quantified here. It becomes a number. Therefore, it's very easy to understand.
Yeah, not only that, minus 50, minus 100, minus 1000, dan, like, the world doesn't trust me, something like that. You get that feeling. Yeah, absolutely.
What do you need to do as a trainer? As Shanti mentioned, first of all, you also maintain your learning bank and ensure even students are maintaining it. With respects to trust bank, ensure that candidates are using a trust bank as a way of communication among themselves. And also, when you want to communicate something like, yeah, you did not do this exercise well, or you have not followed rules, use trust bank to communicate that.
Key takeaway: use Learning Bank and Trust Bank as a tool to give feedback to the students.